unbox this thing and take a look inside. So very cool box. I love it. Obviously, there's not much to unbox. It's just, you know, a faceplate with a circuit board in the back. So my first impression off the bat, I mean, it's all obviously very well built. I do have a thought on that though. One of the knobs are loose. I have these two and they look awfully similar, the Magneto and the Starlab. In fact, it's identical in terms of the button layout and the knobs. And it looks like Starlab is sort of a reskin of the Magneto. So how much different is it really? And so that's an interesting thing. If you own the Magneto, would you want the Starlab also? So Strymon does this with their guitar pedals. I think they have a platform, some kind of a digital platform, and they put new algorithms inside and make it different. I guess my question as a consumer would be like, couldn't they have just released a firmware to unlock all these things? You know, what makes it, are there things that are actually really unique about Starlab that's different from Magneto? Or could they have added those features onto Magneto? They're very expensive. You know, these are almost $700 US, and the expectation is really high for these products to perform. Okay, we're gonna take it for a spin, see how it sounds. So yeah, this is just a straight sine wave output from an ARTURIA software model of the Jupiter 8. Now I've engaged the wet. So I'm gonna go from essentially top to bottom, right? So that's just me engaging the decay and the wet return, just 12 o'clock. And I mean, you tell me, it sounds incredible. It's so like musical, and that's with nothing. That's just like a reverb. Oh, now I'm dialing the middle button there, and you can sort of goof around with the pitch, which now this is when I have the decay set to like max. Again, I'm just like goofing around with just knobs, right? I'm not even like, I barely looked at the manual. I'm just twisting knobs from the top to bottom. Yeah, this is, I just had the thought to like increase the decay to infinite, I guess, and then you have the, it's like sort of like, it's just like playing the decay of the synth forever. Again, I turned it off there now. I mean, so impression so far, it's I mean, it sounds really good. You know, again, now I'm starting to engage some of the others. That left knob in the middle is shimmer, and also yeah, the shimmer. And again, this also reminds me of Strymon's pedal called Night Sky. In fact, I think they have the similar like bluish finish. So I think the shimmer and glimmer is like they resonate the delay, and it creates these really interesting harmonics on top of the delayed signal. Again, this is the first look, so I'm not really going crazy with it, just playing around with the knobs. So far, it sounds really good. You know, it sounds really good. I'm not even really CV controlling any of this, and that's obviously the charm, right? The difference between a pedal and something like this is that you can CV control those. But again, I'm just checking out the quality, like how different is this from Magneto? And I want to say it's quite different. I mean, this is an entirely different kind of thing, but I've also heard this something similar with my pedals, because I own the Big Sky, the Timeline, and also the Night Sky, and the Night Sky and Starlab feels similar. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they're like the same, they have the same like algorithms loaded or something. Just now I've got both of those engaged, the shimmer and the glimmer. Now I'm bringing in the feedback, which again adds more complexity and more interest to your delayed signal. Oh, and then that's like the detune also. So like all four knobs are engaged in the middle, the smaller ones. Just trying to see like what flavors that they're adding to the simple sine wave. So the question is like, is this just a guitar pedal on a rack, you know, like, and the CV controls are tacked on? Like, is Strymon sort of like just reskinning existing pedals, or is this something that's like actually like there are features here that's also unique to the Eurorack ecosystem where it, you know, it's, or maybe, you know, but like, do you have to really, like, if this was a duplicate, like exact duplicate of like Night Sky, a guitar pedal that's been transported and ported to a Eurorack format, like, does it matter? Like, you don't, if you're not a guitar player, if you don't own guitar pedals, this is really convenient. So on one hand, it's great. Like, maybe you've never even heard of the Night Sky, you know, so that's okay. But because I also own guitar pedals and I like to incorporate guitar pedal effects into my Eurorack setup, like, for me as a consumer, oh yeah, so here's the thing where like quality control a little bit, like the aluminum, like the encoder thing fell off. So I think I'm gonna have to like either call customer support, or I'm just gonna super glue it. I think that'll be just fine, but that was kind of annoying. So now I'm playing with the, and maybe this is where it'll shine, because Night Sky has these LFO features, but I think you can access them via MIDI, which I've never done with a guitar pedal, like stick MIDI into it. But here, you can do some really interesting things, I think, with CV control, which I think does make a compelling case where Starlab is something that deserves its spot in a Eurorack because of that. Now, when I did play around with it a little bit, yeah, it introduces interesting motion, which is just an LFO. Oh yeah, oh, this is me just goofing around with the infinite decay. That's always fun, you know, right? So you can certainly CV control that for interesting results. Yeah, so that was kind of overwhelming. So yeah, going back to it, maybe the LFO, there's like a LFO clock in, you know, it's easy. I mean, I think you could do this with MIDI, but I've never tried it. But with Eurorack, I mean, obviously with having those controls is really cool, because, you know, you can use that to automate your parameters, which is what, you know, that's where the power of the Eurorack is. I mean, it's a beautiful sounding box. Yeah, I'm just really goofing with that infinite decay and, you know, moving around that giant knob in the middle. Here are my thoughts and impressions of Starlab's first test drive, as it were. So it sounds great. Like all of Strymon's products, they sound really good. They sound interesting, and this is no different. And there are a lot of things you can tweak and get out of. So as musicians, composers, sound designers, that's what we want. And it does not disappoint. I think the big challenge here, though, is value proposition. And there's multiple layers in that value proposition. One in terms of cost, one in terms of size, and one in terms of like similar things, if you own similar products, should you get this one? Does it have an additive magnifying effect, or is it more redundant? So I want to say first, Starlab and Magneto, they're both large. And unlike the guitar pedal space where you can sort of lay them out, Euroracks, like HP, is at a very premium, and it's a luxurious thing to have that large of a Eurorack space. So does Starlab justify taking up that much HP? And if you own the Magneto, like, are you gonna have both of them in your rack where it's taking up a whole lot of space? I don't know. I think that's a struggle. I think that's difficult to justify. I'm thinking that because Starlab shares the hardware interface with, or the hardware like surface with the Magneto, it sort of became a cost savings for the company, I guess. But as a consumer, like if they could have just made that smaller and narrower, I think it would have been a much better value proposition. So I don't know. Ultimately, as a consumer, as an enthusiast, as a Eurorack lover, I'm not sure. It's awfully big for what it does. It does it great. It sounds great, but it's large. And so that's the challenge. So in the next, few weeks or so, I'm going to get into it more. Maybe it does justify it. Maybe it does justify its size for the things that it offers. But so far, I'm not sure yet.